Have you ever noticed that summer vacations felt like an eternity when you were 7, but now a whole year slips by in what feels like a weekend? It is not just your imagination, it is a measurable, documented, and terrifying glitch in how your brain experiences reality. To understand why time seems to accelerate as we age, we have to look at the intersection of neuroscience, physics, and basic math. The primary theory behind this phenomenon is called the proportional theory. It was first proposed by the French philosopher Paul Janet in 1877. Think of your life like a ruler. When you are 5 years old, 1 year represents 20% of your entire life. That single trip around the sun is a massive, significant chunk of your lived experience. It is a huge slice of the pie. But when you are 50, 1 year represents only 2% of your life. Because you have lived so much longer, that single year is proportionally smaller compared to your total memory bank. Your brain essentially divides the current year by the total sum of all the years you have already experienced. As the denominator grows, the value of the individual year shrinks, but it is not just math. Our brains are biological prediction machines. We process information through the lens of novelty. When you are a child, almost everything is new. You are learning to tie your shoes, navigating a new school, or experiencing a thunderstorm for the first time. Because these experiences are novel, your brain allocates more neural resources to record them. Think about your first day at a new job. Everything is unfamiliar, so you pay close attention to every detail. You remember the sound of the lobby, the smell of the coffee, and the faces of your coworkers. Because your brain is capturing all that data, the day feels incredibly long. In contrast, think about your daily commute. You have done it 1,000 times. You go into autopilot. Your brain stops recording the details because it has already seen this movie 100 times before. Since there is less new data to store, your brain compresses the memory. When you look back at that commute, it feels like it happened in an instant. This is the oddball effect. In 2004, researcher Peter Mangan studied how different age groups perceived the passing of time. He asked subjects to estimate when 1 minute had passed. Young children were incredibly accurate, hitting the 60-second mark almost every time. But as subjects grew older, they consistently overestimated. They thought the minute was over long before it actually was. Their internal clocks were running faster because they were expecting fewer surprises. We also have to consider the role of dopamine. This neurotransmitter is closely linked to our perception of time. In our younger years, our dopamine levels are often higher and our experiences are richer with emotional stakes. As we hit our 30s and 40s, our lives often become routine. Routine is the enemy of perceived time. If you want to slow time down, you have to break the routine. You have to force your brain to switch out of autopilot. Physics gives us a strange perspective on this as well. While time is a physical constant in the universe, our perception of it is entirely subjective. According to Einstein's theory of special relativity, time is relative to the observer. While Einstein was talking about high-speed travel through space, the concept holds weight in our psychological experience. We are the observers of our own timeline. If you fill your life with static, predictable patterns, you are essentially accelerating your own perception of time. Consider the memory density of your childhood. You can likely recall specific events from when you were 10 years old in high-definition detail. Now, try to remember a Tuesday from 3 years ago. It is probably a blur. If you cannot distinguish one day from another, your brain stops marking them as individual units. It lumps them together into one long, featureless stretch. This is why a vacation in a foreign country feels longer than a month of working at your desk. The foreign country is full of new sights, sounds, and challenges. Your brain is firing on all cylinders to keep up. So, how do we hack this? How do we stop time from slipping away? It comes down to one word: novelty. If you want your year to feel long, you have to make it memorable. Learn a new language, travel to a place where you do not speak the tongue. Pick up a hobby that makes you feel clumsy and incompetent. By forcing yourself out of your comfort zone, you increase the amount of neural activity required to process your day. You are filling your brain's storage with high-definition files instead of compressed, low-quality data. In the 1960s, a study by Robert Ornstein suggested that the complexity of the information we process dictates our temporary experience. If you are bored, time drags faster. If you are busy with familiar tasks, time flies. But if you are busy with new, complex tasks, your perception of time actually expands. You create more checkpoints in your memory. A year filled with 100 small, exciting, and varied experiences will always feel longer than a year filled with the same repetitive cycles. There is a bittersweet irony here. We spend our childhoods wishing to be older so we can have more freedom. We spend our adulthoods wishing we could slow down the clock. We are constantly searching for more time, yet we organize our lives in ways that make that time disappear as quickly as possible. We are finite beings trapped in a cycle of our own creation. We seek comfort in routine, yet comfort is the very thing that turns our lives into a blur. We want to live a long time, but we settle for a life that is thin on new experiences. If the goal is to expand your life, stop living for the weekend. Stop living for the next milestone. Start introducing friction into your daily existence. Seek the uncomfortable. Chase the unfamiliar. Build a life that is so dense with unique moments that when you reach the end of your own personal timeline, you can look back and feel like you have lived 1,000 years. Time is going to pass regardless of what you do. The physics of the universe will ensure that. But the subjective experience of that time, that is entirely in your hands. How long will your next year be?